Our story begins inside of the Jedi Council chambers and also inside of a Royal Senate apartment across the forever-moving Coruscant skyline. As millions of citizens went about their day, two of the most influential figures in the entire galaxy, Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, were undergoing moments that would change the fate of the entire galaxy. Anakin was just ordered to remain in his council room, while Windu and three other Jedi go and confront the Chancellor, Darth Sidious. But Anakin knew the truth. The Jedi wanted to take over the Republic, just like Palpatine had predicted. Anakin knew there was no way the Jedi would take Palpatine alive when they could kill him, claim the Senate for themselves. This, of course, was right and wrong. The Jedi did plan to kill Palpatine and take over the Senate, not because they were hungry for power, but because the Sith have infiltrated and infected every level of the Republic. The only way to cure the corruption spreading throughout the galaxy was by rooting it out, kill the Sith, dismantle the system that has allowed the allies of the Sith to rise to power. Palpatine has used this war to turn a democracy into an empire. He was a dictator in every way except for name. Across the Republic, he's installed planetary governors, selected personally by him, loyal to him, paid off by corporate interests, loyal to him. There was barely even a political movement anymore. It was just all about a name, Palpatine, and his continued rise to power. He controlled the Senate, the courts, the entire Grand Army, and now he's infiltrated the Jedi Council. But for Anakin, he believed everything was fine. He believed it was necessary in order to end the war and to ensure the Separatists could not destroy the Republic. People were suffering, trying to survive, but Anakin was sure it was all worth it to ensure the Separatists cannot win. And the Jedi, despite being largely responsible for allowing this dictatorship to rise by being extremely loyal to the Senate, were finally trying to do something about it. Dramatic change was needed, not just in who sits in the Chancellor chair, but the entire system of the Republic had to be overhauled. And one person who was capable of handling that type of reform was the Naboo Senator. Not Palpatine, but Padme Amidala. And as Padme stood up and looked across the Coruscant evening sky, she could see the Jedi Temple as the night shadows were creeping over it. She somehow felt more connected to Anakin at this moment than ever before. It was like she was looking right into his eyes without being able to say anything to him. And then, as Padme felt Anakin's presence and thought about their child, it happened. She went into sudden labor, calling for her handmaidens, for C-3PO, for anyone. Padme was in a panic. It was far too early for this. And as she moved to the couch, she could only wonder if Anakin's dreams were coming true. As she yelled out in pain, while handmaidens rushed to get her to the Coruscant Medical Center, Padme ordered C-3PO to find R2-D2, have the astromech tell Anakin to come to her. 3PO knew this was the most important mission of his time, and he set out on his journey to find his maker. Back in the temple, as Anakin thought about Palpatine fighting and dying to the Jedi, and as he thought of Padme, something struck him in the Force. A warning or a call for help. Anakin thought it had to be from Palpatine, and he knew there was no way he could stay here any longer. He had to go and save Palpatine, or else Padme was going to die, and the Jedi will take over the Republic. So, Anakin sprinted down to the temple hangar, and as he approached, he ran right into Shaak Ti as she was headed to the meditation room. Shaak Ti did not need Jedi senses to tell that Anakin was in extreme distress. So, she did what she knew Windu certainly did not do, offering Anakin a friendly word, telling him he's done so well. She, the Jedi Order, and the entire galaxy are in his debt for bringing the truth of Palpatine into the light. Anakin just told Shaak Ti to get out of his way. He was standing in front of the code lock to the hangar door. Shaak Ti looked at him again, noticing that, despite his outward appearance, Anakin's voice was deeper, more mature, more commanding, and he did not call her master for the first time in their few conversations over the years. She tried telling Anakin that the Jedi would need him here in case Palpatine retaliates, should the Jedi fail. But Anakin said that his place is not here. He is the chosen one. He should be in that room with the Jedi and Sith. He will do what he is supposed to do. And Shaak Ti would move aside as Anakin punched in the code, unlocking the door and preparing to leave. But as the door opened, someone else was now in Anakin's way. R2-D2 was here, and he began rocking side to side chirping loudly with extreme urgency and beeps that even Anakin could barely understand. He told the little droid to settle down, asking what was going on, and finally, R2 did settle down enough to reach into his hologram processors, playing a message given to him by C-3PO. A hologram of Padme Amidala appeared, with her face in a state of extreme pain and surprise. It was a pre-recorded message, and she told Anakin that the baby is coming sooner than expected. She admitted she was afraid, but her handmaidens were taking her to the Lina So Hospital near her sector. She let out an anguished scream, and she ended the message, asking Anakin to come and be with her, please. She needs him right now more than ever. The message cut off, leaving R2-D2, Anakin Skywalker, and Shaak Ti standing silently just outside the temple hangar. In a matter of seconds, Shaak Ti was able to put a few things together. It was no wonder Anakin looked so distressed and disheveled. Clearly, Senator Amidala's child was also Anakin's child, and on top of that stress, Anakin has been thrown into the heart of Coruscant politics as both a spy on Chancellor Palpatine and Palpatine's representative on the council. Anakin felt like he was being torn apart from every corner of the universe. Shaak Ti calmly placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder, and she told him, go to Padme. He should let the Jedi Masters handle Palpatine. Anakin slowly shook his head, trying to remain as calm as he could, and he told Shaak Ti that she doesn't understand. Padme is going to die in childbirth. He's seen it in visions from the Force. It is all that he sees whenever he closes his eyes. She wasn't supposed to give birth for weeks. This was too soon, too early. She was going to die. So, Shaak Ti told Anakin that they will go to her together, and perhaps the two of them can give her enough of their healing energy through the Force to ensure that she does survive. But still, Anakin said she doesn't understand. Only through Palpatine and his powers can they save Padme's life. And Shaak Ti was looking at Anakin with compassion, because it was terrifying just how brainwashed he's seemingly become. She realized that zero sleep and maximum stress could do that to a young Jedi. So, she just bluntly told Anakin to snap out of it. No Sith can prevent people from dying. It goes against everything they believe in. But she has seen Jedi heal clones, people, even other Jedi with the Force. And she looked Anakin deep in his eyes, and she said that only together can they go and save her. And as Anakin looked back at her, he could tell she meant it. So the two of them would get into a speeder with R2-D2, taking off through the Coruscant night. It was storming heavily tonight, and as they flew through the Coruscant traffic, they would come upon the executive building on their way to the hospital. And as the lightning from the storm spat out from the clouds, Shaak Ti and Anakin noticed more lightning coming from the window of Palpatine's office. Immediately, Anakin thought of Dooku's lightning, how it burned him throughout the war, and he knew Sidious was just as cruel as Dooku, perhaps even more. He wondered if the lightning was burning the Jedi, and it took Shaak Ti everything in her not to order Anakin to turn their speeder towards the building to go and help the Jedi. But she knew there was a fair chance that Anakin would not choose the side of the Jedi, and she'd already made a promise to go and help Senator Amidala. So, the speeder continued towards the hospital. Down in the office of the Chancellor, Darth Sidious was knocked to the floor by Mace Windu. The Jedi Master was far stronger than Sidious expected. His use of Vapad eventually overwhelmed the Sith Lord. Sidious backed up into the corner, shooting lightning up at Windu, stealing glances to the doorway, fully expecting Anakin Skywalker to run through that door. It was so strange. Sidious could feel Anakin's presence getting closer, and yet, as the speeder traffic outside continued to cycle through, Anakin's presence began to fade away. Sidious's loss of hope allowed Windu to push through the lightning, cutting through Sidious's wrists, then twisting the saber to cut it across his neck. And as Sidious's head fell to the floor, the last thing his mind ever saw was a vision from the Force of Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, not being the one to destroy the Sith, but instead being the one to lead the Jedi forward, ensuring the Sith can never return. And at the Lina So Hospital, the Jedi duo of Anakin and Shaak Ti sprinted inside, with R2-D2 rolling around the corner, slamming into walls as he clumsily tried to keep up with the Jedi. Finally, R2 and the Jedi arrived at the medical room where Padme was being held. Human doctors and droid doctors were doing everything they could to help Padme safely deliver the twin children. These words shocked Anakin, as he did not know that Padme was having twins. This made everything scarier, riskier, and Anakin was by her side, holding her hand through all of it. The first baby was delivered, a boy that would be named Luke, and then the second baby, a girl named Leia. Anakin held them both, before they were safely placed into their pods. But then the droid doctors began to move more quickly, as the machines began to beep with a critical warning for Padme's health. Anakin got to her side, trying to remain calm, but Padme's breathing had gone shallow and slow as she closed her eyes. But just outside of the birthing room, Shaak Ti was standing, eyes closed as well. Before Anakin ran into her in the Jedi Temple, she was moving down to the meditation chambers to focus on the dark currents of the Force. But now as she closed her eyes, she could feel that dark cloud fading. She could feel that Sidious has been destroyed by the Jedi. So instead, for the first time in a long time, Shaak Ti focused on the light side of the Force, closing her eyes and meditating. And just like Sidious, Shaak Ti began to have a vision in the Force. She saw Anakin standing as the future leader of the Jedi Order, standing as the Chosen One, not as the one who destroyed the Sith, but as the one who stopped them from ever rising again. In this vision, Anakin was not alone. Padme was by his side. Shaak Ti tried to imagine a future galaxy where Padme does not survive today, and she saw the dark cloud begin to emerge over the galaxy once more. Shaak Ti came to realize the truth. Anakin may be the future leader of the Jedi Order, but the person to push the Republic forward was Padme Amidala. Her survival was just as important for the future of the galaxy. And so Shaak Ti finally opened her eyes as these visions came to an end. And in front of her, inside of the medical room, Padme was on her final breaths. Anakin was doing everything he could, as the doctors and the droids were telling him to get out of the way, to let them work. But then the doors opened, and Shaak Ti calmly walked forward, telling all of them, even Anakin, to move out of the way. Anakin had no choice but to trust her, so Anakin guided the doctors away, as Shaak Ti placed the palm of her hand on Padme's forehead, using a Force power that she certainly has not mastered. Using Force Heal to bring someone back to life that was so close to death was largely frowned upon, but Shaak Ti trusted her visions. She trusted that Padme's life was crucial to saving the galaxy, so she would use all of her energy, pouring her life force into Padme, focusing everything she had to restore her life. From the other side of the medical bed, Anakin watched with desperation and despair, part of him thinking he should have just gone to Sidious. And something truly miraculous happened. Padme's eyes slowly opened back up. Her chest began to rise and fall as the breath re-entered her lungs. Anakin looked to Shaak Ti, and she had the softest, kindest smile on her face as she gave Anakin a nod before collapsing to the floor. She was gone, having sacrificed herself to save Padme's life. And then in the Jedi Temple, Mace Windu would soon arrive back in the council chambers, expecting to find Anakin here, but not really at all surprised when he wasn't here. Mace figured that if Anakin left, though, he would have come to the duel. So where was he? And as Mace looked out of the window and thought, the council doors slid open. Anakin walked inside with Padme by his side, and each of them was holding a newborn baby, as Anakin introduced Mace to Luke and Leia before giving him the news about Shaak Ti and how everything happened. And over the next days, Mace Windu, Yoda, Kenobi, Skywalker, and Padme would all stand before the Senate, revealing that it was Chancellor Palpatine who was the Sith Lord, working with Dooku to create the war. At first, there were accusations to the Jedi of treason, but with Padme speaking out and her supporters coming to her side, the war could end, and the Jedi were not accused of this treason, as it all unraveled. Padme would reach out to separatist senators, and Mina Bonteri's old allies returned to negotiate. Senators from Raxus, Christophsis, and many other outer or mid-rim worlds began to speak with the members of this loyalist committee. Anakin, meanwhile, would lead the 501st to Mustafar, where the final battle would take place. The separatist leaders like Nute Gunray, Wat Tambor took a final stand with their droids, but they were no match for the 501st. It was finally over. Shaak Ti's sacrifice became one of the defining memories of a new era, and Anakin never forgot it. He would walk past her newly built statue every day, remembering what she did for him. Anakin confessed everything to the council, and Yoda admitted the Order had failed to see how the Sith had infiltrated Anakin and the entire Order. The entire future of the Jedi changed this council meeting, and Anakin's faith in the Jedi was strong again. In the coming years that followed, the Jedi Order abandoned the coldness that had made so many of the members feel alone or distant from the Force. Anakin became the face of this new path. He trained younglings, helped former war-torn Padawans to recover, and worked with Rex and the clones to build a life after the war. The clone army, under Padme's leadership, would see the Senate pass the Clone Personhood Act, granting every clone citizenship, medical care, pensions, and the choice to remain in peacekeeping service or leave the military. Padme refused to become Chancellor at first, and Bail Organa served as interim Chancellor during any transition, while Padme was leading the Reconstruction Council, overseeing the dismantling of all the emergency powers. Planetary governors were removed, courts were rebuilt, corporations that had fed the war were broken apart or placed under extremely strict control. Outer Rim worlds were given direct aid, and after 3 years, when the first true election of the new era was held, Padme did become Chancellor of the Restored Republic by one of the largest margins in history. And then, many years after Sidious died, Chancellor Amidala was standing at the center of a republic that was alive in a way it hadn't been for generations. Beside her was Anakin Skywalker, now a Jedi Master and a father. Luke and Leia grew up between both worlds, sometimes running through the temple halls, training with their sabers, learning the Force, with R2 chasing behind them. Sometimes sitting in the Senate chamber, watching their mother fight battles with her strong words. Anakin understood that the Chosen One had been chosen to break the cycle that created the Sith. And as the Skywalker twins stood together one morning on the balcony of the temple, watching the sunrise spread across Coruscant, Anakin and Padme stood behind them, ready to continue building a future they were extremely proud of. And folks, that is our shorter story for today, coming after one of the longer ones I've done, but I don't know if you can hear it, but I am losing my voice just a little bit, so I figured I probably got to keep this one under 20 minutes. We'll see what it comes out to, but yeah, it was, it's a when I think, okay, I need to do a shorter one just to, you're probably thinking, okay, then wrap this talking up, because if you're losing your voice, but anyways, I'm going to. I'm like, all right, I need a shorter concept, and I just, sometimes it's like, all right, let's dive into Revenge of the Sith, and just, do it what we did, but also really handle the post-Revenge of the Sith arc, post-Revenge of the Sith, what happens with the Republic kind of afterward, and I don't know, I thought that was fun. I enjoyed having Shaak Ti be a very prominent part of this video, and I'm gonna go. Appreciate you guys. Let me know what you want to see next. Hopefully I'm good to go on Friday's video, and yeah. Anyways, I'll see you in the next video.